Hello and welcome back to First Amendment Media Sports. I am your host, Colton Hall, and today we've got Frank Pavich from the Black Hills Nationals Wrestling Tournament, the founder. Frank, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Colton, thanks for having me. It's always good to see you.
Absolutely, same here. And so I really want to go over today talking about, being a referee, also your role in finding the Black Hills Nationals Wrestling Tournament, and just kind of go over your expertise on, some things that people might not be able to consider when being a referee and all that different stuff.
I created Black Hills Nationals Wrestling Foundation in 1994. I had a young son coming up that was going to be a wrestler and everything, and he had a lot of buddies that were the same. I wanted to create opportunities for those kids through camps, and for the first 10 years, I did camps specifically. Matter of fact, we just celebrated our 30th wrestling camp at Spearfish High School this year. So it's been really a successful thing.
Absolutely.
We've had everything from local coaches to Olympic gold medalists. We had Tom Brands here for the first 2 years, who was an Olympic gold medalist for the University of Iowa, and he's the head coach now for the University of Iowa. So it just progressed from there. And over time, we'll get into the refereeing part, but officiating is how I created the tournament side of Black Hills Nationals. So we have several events a year with Black Hills Nationals. We have our camp, we have our tournament, and we promote some college events coming into our area as well. This year, we're going to have a college event. It's the last Sunday of November. I think it's the 24th. Don't quote me on that, but it's the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And it's right before the high school wrestling season kicks off, and we're going to have either a triangular or a quad with several of the colleges. We've invited the University of Mary. They're excited about it. Northern State's coming in. They're excited about it. We've invited Chadron College and Dakota Wesleyan. So it's going to be a new, we want to make this an annual venue and an annual event. So we're excited to see that, where it goes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be nothing but successful. And we want to, I'm trying to promote other college venues in the area between, the northern Black Hills, southern Black Hills, and Rapid City. So I have a big network since I am a college wrestling official.
Yep.
We can make it right. It's a destination spot. It's kind of a good place for college athletes to want to come, and their coaches and their fans and everything else. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of how Black Hills Nationals operates.
Searching for your top-tier flooring solutions? Introducing Epoxy Docs, your flooring experts. With unmatched years of expertise and innovative techniques, we specialize in crafting durable, stunning epoxy floors. Visit epoxydocsus.com or call 605-290-0997 for a free quote today. Elevate your space with Epoxy Docs, where excellence meets flooring.
So as far as another big thing that you mentioned is, and I feel like a big part of the tournament is the local support. Really bring it back locally.
Yeah, it's a local Black Hills thing. It's been in Spearfish for the last 21 years. But we have just made a command decision as a board of directors because we're having a hard time with the venue and matching up a date. We're either, the date we need, Queen City Classic already has it, and the other date that we can do it on is the big track meet in Spearfish. So our hands kind of forced to look for a different venue. And interestingly enough, the Rapid City Sports Council sent up a 6-man task force this last year to study the Black Hills Nationals. And they were there from start to finish, and they rolled out this report to me about 3 weeks after the tournament was over and asked me if I would be interested in entertaining bringing this to Rapid City. Well, and I really tried keeping it here in Spearfish, but we exhausted all our options because we have to have this tournament for other qualifier tournaments around the country by the first week of April. Okay. It's a qualifier tournament for referees getting selected for Disney duels. So we have a parameter with AAU wrestling to work with. So we were left no choice but to start looking at other venues. And the venue we looked at was the James Kerstad Event Center at the Central States Fair. And the folks at the Central States Fair The Rapid City Sports Commission, we're very, very excited to offer that to us.
Absolutely.
And I really think it's going to be a better venue as far as crowd, or as far as visibility to watch the matches, because it has elevated grandstands and elevated bleachers, and we can move some elevated bleachers in. So instead of having people on top of people, I think will be really managed, because it has kind of a corral mezzanine area. You can kind of have a couple choke points pinching people in and out.
Yep.
The people that are supposed to be wrestling can be wrestling, and the people that are supposed to be in the stands watching are in the stands watching. So I'm really excited to see this year. We have made a decision as a board of directors to move it to Rapid for this year. And if it works, it probably will be a long-term thing.
Okay.
We have a lot of local support, from Spearfish to Sturgis to Lead Deadwoods, Bellfouche, Rapid City, Moorcroft, Wyoming. You know, they're still going to have spillover here, but, you know, the Spearfish community won't be as impacted probably as it has been in the past, because, you know, there's all those hotel rooms are always busy and they're always full. And it's just one of those decisions you have to make as a businessman. This is a business. I mean, it is. You know, it's a business that brings economy to other people's business, and we operate it through a board of directors. All our board of directors went down and looked at it, and they were very, very positive that this is a great venue. And the other benefit is we can add more mats. We're limited to 10 mats right now. We can actually go up to 16 mats. Wow. We're going to go up to 12 mats this year, with 2 mats for a warm-up area. We haven't had the opportunity for a warm-up area ever. Wow. So that's what we're going to do. Black Hills Nationals for 2025 is going to be April 4th through 6th. Okay. We're going to weigh everybody in on April 4th. We'll still have our off-site weigh-in partners from around the region, around the area. And we're probably going to have a free wrestling camp the night of weigh-ins. Okay. So people have the opportunity, you know, their fee, part of their fee covers that. Okay. And we'll have a really good clinician, you know, I'll try to get a Division I coach to come in and do a camp with maybe a couple of his guys, and you know, go from there. You know, the other thing that we're really trying to focus on is the females coming up. Female wrestling is huge, and our spikes in numbers are massive. I mean, we had over 1,700 registered wrestlers from 25 states and 2 Canadian provinces. We had about 7,000 people watching this thing, and it was in and out. The lines to weigh-ins were incredible. Yeah. You know, we had a couple hiccups, and our weigh-ins got done 6 minutes later than I announced, but not a big deal. Yeah. We had a scale go down on us, so we had to, you know, we just got backlogged there a little bit, but managed it just fine. The tournament went off well. Everybody was happy. Everybody, great wrestling. The other opportunity that the Kerstead Event Center offers us is a specific awards area, and you can just kind of fence it off and let people in with their wrestler to get their awards, move them in and move them out. It's really user friendly. The PA is state of the art. There's so many attributes, so many attributes. So in Rapid City was very. From the Rapid City Sports Council to the staff at Central States Fair to the Rapid City City Council, they were all excited, and they all have touched base with me pre-decision. Okay. You know, so wow. But I was impressed with their study that they did. They had a lot of good numbers. They had a lot of pictures. They had a lot of, and I thought they did their due diligence, and that's what was impressive.
This production is brought to you by Millstone Family Restaurant.
Absolutely. And I feel like something like that, where like, you know, you're going to bring something like that, having a report, and also kind of looking at the economic impact it could also have for Rapid too. I know it's not Spearfish, but it's still in the area, you know, it's still, and I think it might be better suited for an event that you know, talk about growing.
Right, and that's the big thing right there, Colton, that you touched on is growth. One of the solutions that I was given this year by the venue folks that we utilized was we need to limit the numbers of people that can come. That's not a solution. That's not a viable solution. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yep.
We want to make sure and accommodate as many people as we can. If we extend it into multiple days, so be it. That's just more hotel rooms, more restaurants, more resources spent in our local area. So it's going to really give us the opportunity to grow, and that's what we want. That's what we want. I mean, we've since the tournament has been. I get calls weekly. When is the Black Hills Nationals? We're going to lay out a formal announcement in the Rapid City Journal. I just proofread the article today, and it looks really good. And it's a joint venture between Black Hills Nationals and the Rapid City Sports Council, the Central States Fair, and kind of lays everything out. And so I will announce this nationally next week.
Awesome.
And the dates have always been the dates. We knew we were going to have this on the first weekend of April. One thing we're going to do this year, usually we started on Friday. We're going to go a Saturday, Sunday wrestling start. So we're going to weigh everybody in on Friday, bring them into town, do our free wrestling camp, and then we're going to wrestle the 6 and under through junior high on Saturday like we've historically done. But we're going to move that Friday's venue to Sunday. So the high school, the senior, the master, and the grand masters are all going to go on Sunday.
Okay.
That'll be a fairly quick day, especially at 12 mats.
Yeah.
Last year, if you didn't realize it, we opened up a new division called the Grand
I was
Masters.
just going to ask about that.
And the Grand
You were
Masters,
excited.
yeah, it was really cool. The senior division is 19 to 29-year-olds, and then the Masters division is 30 to 49-year-olds, and the Grand Masters are 50 to 69-year-olds. And we had 36 entries in the Grand Masters last year. It was so cool. I mean, everybody was just excited about it, and it was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch.
That's
So,
awesome.
but-
and did you and obviously you're carrying that over again to this next coming year.
Absolutely.
When you look at that, is there another, do you take that a step farther? Do you look at widening the age gaps, or what? When you guys see it take off like that with just a small change, what does that do for you, just from a planning perspective?
Well, I think what you're seeing is a whole different customer coming in that's bringing their family because they want to watch Grandpa wrestle.
Yep.
It opens up that, and then they probably have kids that they're involved with that they bring a few more with them.
Yep.
So I think the age classes, the way we have them, are structured appropriately. I think they're very good. And we had some female wrestlers in the Masters division that were pretty good this year too.
Yeah.
And everybody was excited. Everybody was we had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of good times. A lot of good times.
That's what it's all about.
We put on a good show. It was great wrestling.
Escape to flavor paradise at Tropical Smoothie in Spearfish. Sip on a variety of refreshing mango banana blend or indulge in island-inspired acai bowls. Visit Tropical Smoothie today and taste the tropics right here in Spearfish at 2430 Platinum Drive. I think that's what it's all about.
Right.
You have these tournaments and everything, and then you also bring in another division. That's awesome. That was kind of the cool things. That was one of the things I was looking forward to.
Yeah, it was very popular, and I think it's going to just catch on like wildfire, and it's going to be even more popular. I don't see our growth going backwards next year. Actually, I see it. I've been in contact with multiple girls teams, and I think that date really works out for girls wrestling. We're going to see a lot of girls coming our way. We had 3 teams from Florida last year. One of them flew into Denver, rented a van and drove up. The other one flew into Rapid City Regional, rented a van and drove in, and the other one did a fellowship road trip on the way up, and
Wow.
it was really kind of a cool thing. It was over their spring break and just worked out good, so we literally spanned coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
We went from Connecticut to California and everywhere in between.
That's awesome.
No.
Did you see it when you first started this thing 20 some odd years ago? Did you see that happening?
That was my vision, Colton. And I think what's one of the things that has helped grow it is is my opportunity to be a college wrestling official. I'm a pretty good networker. I'm a pretty good, sales guy, and I'm a local entrepreneur businessman in the Black Hills. So my businesses depends on my ability to communicate with folks. And when last conference I was with was the Big 12. I retired last year. And when I would go to these venues, I would find out who the kids club coaches were, who the junior high coaches were, who the high school coaches in the area were. I'd get their numbers. I'd call them personally. Wow. And I say, hey, can I get your email? Can I send you a link? And then prior to the tournament happening, I would actually make some visits and invite people, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and invite them to Black Hills Nationals. You can't believe how much traction that got. It got a lot of traction, and then it became contagious. It's like a domino effect. You hit one domino and they start falling. Well, we had a really, really good showing from a lot of places east of the Mississippi River this year. And I was very impressed with that. Illinois wrestlers, Wisconsin wrestlers, Missouri wrestlers, had a ton of Missouri wrestlers, Iowa wrestlers, it was fun to see. So it's been, social media has definitely helped, the social marketing, all that stuff. We partner with Win Magazine. Win's Magazine has always really been good. I'm the a mentorship chairman for a officials group that works hand in hand with the NCAA called the ICWA, Intercollegiate Wrestling Officials Association. Wow. And I've been part of the board of directors since about the inception. I think the first year I wasn't, but then immediately I brought them the idea of mentorship, having a mentorship guy, and I became that guy. I wrote dialogue, I wrote the program, and I administrate the program. So I'm reaching out and I'm talking to referees all over the country, coast to coast, and my job is to get them working in different venues that they wouldn't have the opportunity to get in and get exposure from. Okay. I run the Vegas Open for the University of Michigan sponsors it. It's the Cliff Keen Las Vegas Open. It's always the first week of December. The Chirella family, who are just class act, Mark Chirella, who was a national champion, and his family all has very rooted experience in the sport of wrestling. His son is a assistant wrestling coach at Michigan. They sponsor that, so the University of Michigan sponsors that tournament. And my job is to run the officials. I get all the officials. Make sure those officials are coming in, and it's gotten to be probably the best tournament in the nation as far as college wrestling, barring the Division I tournament. Okay. So we always partner with the ICWA. I have 22 guys on my regular docket, but then I get 2 apprentice officials from the ICWA. I utilize a board of directors. I'm the chair on that, and I ask my board of directors to give me nominations. They reach out to their networks. We get a list of nominations. We discuss them, and we have our criteria, and then we pick 2 referees from the ICWA that the ICWA will fund for their tournament fee instead of the Las Vegas Open. Wow, okay. And it's been very effective. And if these guys do a good job, then I invite them the next year to come to the Vegas Open. Yeah. I try to keep people on the button for 3 years and then pull them out a year. That way, that fosters opportunity. And I know we're talking about officiating and what makes a good official. Yeah. And I think is being involved, wanting to give back to a sport that was good to you. I know my mission is that. I mean, my dad died when I was a freshman in high school unexpectedly of a heart attack, and I thought I was going to have to go to work and quit sports and all that stuff. To my mom's credit and to my father's credit, he left us in a situation to where I didn't have to do that. So I got involved with the sport of wrestling, and I had many mentors along the way. And I recognized immediately that those people and that sport was there for me when I was dealing with a void in my life, a significant void in my life. And that event, I have a coin phrase: it can make you bitter, or it can make you better. It made me better. It gave me the understanding of you just got to keep moving. You just got to keep those boots going up that mountain. Yeah. Whatever your mountain is. So it's. this is why I personally, that's my why, okay? That's my why of doing what I do. But I also try to recruit people to get involved in youth wrestling, to referee in the youth leagues, to referee junior high, to referee high school. I've really backed out of a lot of high school wrestling, and I've just specifically focused on college wrestling. A couple reasons why. It's time to give those other people opportunities. Not that I don't like to do it, but if you're reffing high school and college, the rule separation is dramatic enough and dynamic enough that you really sometimes are starting to call high school rules for college and college rules for high school. And I'll give you for instance, last year college wrestling went to a 3-point takedown. I understand this year high school's going to that. I love it. I really like that because with wrestling, you're looking for action. Wrestling can be a real boring sport if people are just two dancing bears are out there not doing anything. Then you start calling the stall call, and Lord knows I've called plenty of that. That was kind of my reputation, is to catch people in the act of stalling if they were stalling. It's not my job to get someone to wrestle. It's my job to call stalling when they're not wrestling.
Yep.
You'll always hear the crowd say, call, he's stalling. Well, I'll make that determination, and I have a protocol to come up with, stalling from the neutral position or stalling from the top and bottom position on the mat. So once you develop a technique and a style like that and get a little confidence behind you, you just start climbing the rungs.
Yeah.
And I think the opportunities, it's my understanding in all sports, whether it's wrestling or football or basketball or umpires for baseball, there's a shortage of people that want to referee. A couple reasons for that. You have to have a tough skin. You have to, you're going to get your butt chewed on a regular basis because everybody in the stands knows a lot more than you, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. And you just can't take it personal. I mean, I used to be kind of a smoking gun in my earlier years, and I'm a former U.S. infantry Marine, so you don't tend to take a lot of grief.
Nope.
So. But, that was all part of my growth as far as, and I had some great mentors along the way locally. We had officials when I first started that had great friendships. They cared about each other. They had great continuity and help developing your skills. And we just had a real good organization. And we've seen that kind of roller coaster over time. Peaks and valleys. Sometimes, you're full, sometimes you're empty, sometimes you're flush. Yep. And we have really tried to have a specific effort to try to recruit people into officiating. But that's one thing that I like to see. I've become somewhat of an evaluator for the high school ranks, and I have a lot to offer the sport still because I have probably the most experience of any referee, and especially in the state of South Dakota. There's been some great referees and a lot of college level referees, but to my knowledge, I'm the only the referee in the state that's been selected to referee the Division I national tournament. I've been selected several times.
Wow.
And so with that being said, you try to, now it's my mission to help people get to where they want to be, whether that's just reffing Pee-wee, or that's becoming a junior high wrestling referee or a high school wrestling referee. It's unlimited to your desire. And what I did is I got involved in AAU wrestling way back when my son Preston was a young kid, and me and my partner with me, Paul Soriano, who's my assistant tournament director for Black Hills Nationals, and Paul just retired as of this year. That's a sad day for me because Paul and I, we still maintain a great friendship, but our business relationship for Black Hills Nationals was second to none. He was the nuts and the bolts when it came to the paperwork and all that stuff, and just really, I can't say enough good for Paul. He's just such a good man, such a big heart, and so we Paul and I would go and take our boys to these tournaments, and he and I would take our officiating gear, and we became part of the crew. And wherever we went in the nation, we became part of the crew, and as a result of that, we started getting connected with different networks and everything, and then we'd be getting invites to go to Reno, Nevada, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Detroit, Michigan, or St. Louis, Missouri,
Wow.
Orlando, Florida. We've been all over the map officiating, and that's how. And Paul was an official until he retired. I suppose he retired about 10 years ago, and now he's an evaluator too. So he and I work well together in unison. Both of us recognize technical skills. I mean, your signals sometimes can be a little, less than desirable. So our job is to not ridicule. Our job is to teach and get somebody thinking in this point of view, because the rule book has all the signals in there. You want to do the same signals that the rule book is letting you know.
Yep.
And it's important when you're reffing down on the mat and you have a elevated bleacher. When you're calling your signals, you have to be crisp and clean, and you have to make sure you're illustrating it so the top guy in the nosebleed section understands what that call was.
Yep.
So just relaxing and just going through the motions. But I think the biggest deterrent for a referee is why people don't get involved in officiating is because of the comfort level zone, with the confrontation of a coach or a parent or something like that. People just got to understand, that coach is those wrestlers are kind of his kids. Yeah. And as long as he doesn't make it personal, if it makes it personal, totally different story. But if it's not personal, if he's just, blowing out some steam, it just comes with the territory. It's just kind of another day at the office. Parents are always going to be emotional. Yeah. Parents are always going to say their kids are right no matter what.
Of course. Yeah.
Again, that's an expectation that you need to have, and that I learned over my years as an official, going from a junior official to a senior official. You would take some of that stuff personally. Yep. And it's like, and it would make you mad. Yeah. But then you just learn to kind of water off a duck's back, and then start. The exciting thing was working with other officials, and start watching their technical skills, watching their technique and what they were doing, and then getting feedback from them. And in college wrestling, you're evaluated every time you get on the mat by some evaluator. Yep. And so it's been a 24-year comprehensive study as far as, this is, looking at evaluations and actually getting fed evaluations. And state of South Dakota has really come a long way. There's been a grassroots effort by, a longtime official back in the eastern part of the state, Rick Fink, who's a good friend of mine, great guy. He was a very good official, excellent official. Rick and I worked a lot of college together and a lot of state tournaments together. But he became somewhat the head official for South Dakota, and his job is to get collective information fed to him by his evaluators, and have the evaluation process telling a story about that referee on how they can get better. All we're doing is to sharpen your skills, is to bring you to the next level. Nobody's doing it to berate anybody or anything like that. We want to see your professional and personal development in the sport. Yep. Because number one, we want to keep those wrestlers safe. Number two, we want to make the right calls. We want to see the right wrestler win.
Yep.
So
this production is brought to you by Custom Woodworks and Spearfish,
So in my experience, Colton, that's the biggest deterrent. People are afraid to make a command decision because of what's on the other
Parents
end
and
from
coaches,
the
yeah.
parents and the coaches.
Mhm.
And they just need to park that one.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there, but just don't take it personally and just develop your skill set.
Yeah. And how do you, like, if someone is thinking about potentially becoming a referee, what would you say to them as maybe advice or maybe as ways to always improve their craft?
Well, I think the first thing, we have referees organizations throughout the regions in South Dakota and in Wyoming. There's a good personal friend of mine, Jason Wasserberger out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. He's kind of the same capacity as Rick Fink, and he's the head official for Wyoming officials. He does such a great job. And he's been a former college wrestling official as well, and gets it, and mentors to the referees. But we have regional figureheads, and basically get them turned on to that, turn them on to the South Dakota State Athletic Association. They can get an account, they can apply to become an official. If they're a first-year official, they have some funding available as far as buying uniforms, shirts, pants, whistles, shoes. There's not a lot of expense, but there's an expense.
Yeah.
You're going to have a couple $300 into your uniform and everything else, and then your I think your state fee this year was $70 and everything else. So there's a little cost to it, but you will make compensation.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would do is or if somebody wants to get a hold of me, I have an open door policy. They can sure call me, and I'd be happy to guide them.
Oh, okay.
And we're all in this together. We want to see, the old guard be replaced by the new guard.
Yep.
But as the old guard's going away, make sure that those new guard are trained.
Yep.
And understand the process.
Absolutely.
And you have a certain amount of attrition due to, we have a great wrestling official out of Sturgis, Eddie Heisinger, who is coaching now because his son's coming up the ranks. He's a very good official, done plenty of state tournaments, very good on the mat, and now he shifted gears to go to coaching. So you're going to have a certain amount of attrition like that as well. But, I found it very gratifying, and I've enjoyed it. And I have a true passion of the sport of wrestling because it was there for me when I needed something. And, after my dad passed away, I was a lost pup. I got involved in the sport of wrestling, and I started going to summertime tournaments and with a coach, one of my mentor coaches that encouraged me to go, tournaments, camps, stuff like that. So it was really kind of one of those things that was put in front of me, and I made the most of it.
Mm-hmm. And do you, what's the biggest thing, because as you look back, when I say Frank Pavich and you look at the history that you have in this state and really the legacy you've left behind, what's your feeling as far as, what's the biggest thing when people remember you? What do you want them to remember most?
Well, I just hope they remember I gave back. I made it better than I found it. That's the big thing and I've encouraged people. I hope they think of me as a leader and a mentor. I don't need to have awards or accolades or anything like that. But my reward is seeing that young guy that you started come up the ranks and is doing good, sharing in his excitement.
Yep.
One of the first things that I did when I was selected for the first Division I national tournament, I called every single mentor that I had. And I said, thank you for locally here, and plenty of local guys here, and then on a national platform too.
Wow.
I called every single one of them, had a conversation with them, and I said, it's because of people like you that believed in my ability and helped me get to the level I got to. And that's what I hope that I'm remembered as too, as far as creating Black Hills Nationals, giving opportunities. That's given more opportunities to kids than you can even fathom. And that's what our mission is to be there for kids. So it's been an opportunity tournament that has grown into a beast, and it's known coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, can't miss it tournaments now.
Yep.
So we try to take care of everybody at Black Hills Nationals, and as a referee, I want to make sure if I'm on the mat, whoever wins, it's the red wrestler or the green wrestler. That's what I see. I don't see individuals. I learn very few names. I don't want to know their names. Don't care. I just want to see the wrestling talent out on the mat. Sometimes you can't, when you have a stud horse come in, everybody knows them.
Yeah.
But I don't, some of these guys are statistical guys. Hey, did you see Joe Blow come in and against Johnny Walker? And he just, no, I didn't. I saw the guy from West Virginia wrestling the guy from Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw. Or I saw the guy from Oklahoma State wrestling the guy from Northern Iowa.
Yep.
That helps me. That helps me.
Is there a moment, because that's interesting you mentioned that, like when you got to your first tournament, I feel like, was there a moment where you kind of just sat back and kind of realized like, okay, like I'm at something that not a lot of people do. Like this is definitely something it's an upper echelon of reffing, Was there ever a moment like that?
When I got to my first national tournament, I had done plenty of national tournaments on low Division IIs, NAIAs, junior college. I probably had about 8 tournaments of national tournaments under my belt before I did the Division Ones. And I had a lot of people call me when they learned that I was selected for it, and I was excited.
Yeah.
But honestly, I really kept my composure. I listened to the crew members that were with me. I had some great crew members. I had, Mike Haggerty, Kenny Ritchie, Mike McCormick. List goes on and on. And to this day, we are all very tight and very good friends. But I had mentorship there that it was just like, I've seen these teams throughout the year. I called a match that year between Virginia Tech and Ohio State at Virginia Tech, and it was a highly visible match because Dan Gable coached the wrestling coach from Virginia Tech and the wrestling coach from Ohio State. And it was kind of like a homecoming tournament. There was over 6,000 people in the stands. It was a big venue.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest venues I've ever done up to that point. And I just went out and did business as usual, and a heavyweight match came down, and Ohio State's heavyweight backed out with 15 seconds left to go. And this was before the backout rule. So I gave him a stalling point, and it tied the match. Went into overtime. Virginia Tech ended up winning the match, and it was a tie score. I had to go over to the book and go to the criteria. We got down to like the 6 criteria. So you want to talk about pressure cooker.
Yeah.
I have people hollering at me from all angles and everything, and I'm sitting there with the administrator, and my assigner happened to be there, and we determined that Virginia Tech earned one more match point, and that gave them the win.
Yep.
And then that was pandemonium. But it just, you have to make those decisions and everything else. So that was probably more edgy than stepping on the mat at the Division I national tournament for the first time. I was very comfortable. I had a very good tournament that first year that I went in. I had solid calls, and I was very confident in myself, and I just stepped back and let the action happen. And then, just didn't get, there's kind of a saying in college wrestling, sometimes you just got to let it burn. Yep. And once you determine, because sometimes you can give those signals and you can give those points way too fast.
Are you tired of your old worn out floors bringing down the look and feel of your space? Has your floor started cracking or pitting from age? Well, we have the solution for you. Say hello to Epoxy Docs, your ultimate concrete coating company for transforming any surface into a work of art. With our top-of-the-line products and skilled craftsmen, we are here to breathe new life into your floors. Ready to elevate your space? Call 605-290-0997 today and receive a free quote and discover the difference we can make.
Yep.
But no, first college wrestling experience, I was pretty comfortable. And once the first whistle blew, it was just like another day at the office. And that's what I try to tell everybody, whether it's wrestlers that are competing, that state tournament should be just another day at the office and another tournament. Don't put it on a pedestal like it's the holy grail of wrestling, because it's not.
Yeah.
You know, just treat it like another competition that you're going to go and you're going to do your best and you're going to try to become the champion. You know, same thing with officials. I tell them the same thing, whether they're going to referee the South Dakota State wrestling tournament or we have a Division II qualifier or a Division I qualifier. It's just another day at the office. Granted, the coaches are going to be a little more edgy and everything else, but just go call your match. Just go see what you see. And we do make errors at times. Don't be afraid to change your call. You know, go back and correct your error. If you know in your heart that you made a mistake, change it. You know, we have a great opportunity in college wrestling with video review. I love video review because I can, sometimes things are really close.
Yep.
And you can look at the match at a couple different angles and say, you know what? I might have been quick on that call.
Yeah.
I'm going to take away the takedown. After review of the video evidence, the call is changed.
Yeah.
We're going back to the neutral position. Please reset the clock to, 1 minute and 30 seconds or whatever.
Wow. Okay.
So it's really a great tool when you're working double mechanics in wrestling. Having that second official, you really have a good support system. There'll be teams of officials that work really well in unison together, especially conference guys.
Yeah.
If you're on a conference crew, you really start working well with each other. You kind of know what each other's thinking and everything. You edify, great call, good hold, stuff like that. Hearing that vocalization as the head official really takes you out of the pressure cooker. It really, could it be? Is it? Could it be? Is it? Was that is that a takedown? Is that control? When you hear, excuse me, when you hear your assistant official edifying your call, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And I feel like that kind of gives you that, like what you talked about with confidence, and that's another thing too is, whether it's college, whether it's high school, like you said, you're going to have those coaches, you're going to have those parents that probably a little over the top or, that are saying things, whatever it is. What do you, is like, I know you have to tune that out to a degree. Like you just can't, you got to, it's another day at the office. But there comes a certain point though that I think people need to understand is that, it's the kind of pressure that's put on just referees in general. It's like nobody's perfect. What's the message to you that you would particularly say to maybe the parents or the coaches that aren't necessarily in your shoes?
I'd say go read the rule book and take the test. That's what I would say. A lot of coaches don't take the test. They're coaches. Parents don't take the test at all, so they really don't know the rules. They have an emotional stock into little Johnny or Susie, and that's what they're cheering about. So you tune it out, but when it gets to be where you have to enforce something, you enforce it immediately. Don't let it fester.
Okay.
Enforce it immediately. I've been very, very reputable about doing that over the years. So it just disrupts everything, makes everything disruption, and just mitigate the problem. And if someone has to be removed, get a hold of the whole management and have them removed, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think we kind of covered we covered the idea of like why someone should be a referee or why you believe that. And then also kind of the different things that people might not consider with it. Is there anything about just your experience as a referee that maybe somebody doesn't know about? Maybe they're, they just see a person that is making calls that matter, making whatever it is, and they don't necessarily know, whether it's the grind to do it or the amount of effort that goes into it. Is there anything that you think people should know?
Well, I think that goes back to knowing your rules. I'll give you an example. We had a rule. It's been removed this past year from the college ranks, and it was a hand touch takedown, which I'm glad it's removed. And that rule book stated, if you're in the neutral position and you got behind your opponent, and your opponent just based off with his hand, just touched the mat, it's 2. Well, you really don't have control, but it's 2. Well, there was a really heated match last year between Penn State and I think it was Rutgers, and a national champ from Penn State got upset by the Rutgers kid because the referee, who was an Eastern Seaboard referee and used to be one of my crew members, called a takedown in overtime and won them, and it led to him winning the match, his sudden death. So the wrestling network out there is Flow Sports, and so the next day was the Vegas Open. It was the first day of the Vegas Open. They came to me as the head ref and wanted my dialogue as an interview. And I said, well, what do you got? I said, let me see the film, because at this point I hadn't seen the match. I'm always watching wrestling on Flow or whatever, just like most referees. But so they had, I watched it and everything else, and I had my rule book in my bag, and it looked like it was the right call. Well, people don't understand that that's the right call. So I had them slow freeze frame it, and there's a frame with the guy's hand down on the mat, and the Rutgers wrestler is behind him, and it was a bang call, and the referee got it right. That referee took a lot of scrutiny over that call.
Yeah.
And I got the rule book out, and I said, this is the rule right here. You know, it's a hand touch takedown. That was the right call. I said, the problem here is so many people are armchair quarterbacks, and they think they know how to officiate, and it's from an emotional thing, and everybody's calling him, you know, bad names because he made that call. Well, he had the guts to make the call, and it was the right call.
And it was according to the rule book.
It was according to the rule book, and he was in the right. He was in position to see it. You know, so Flow Sports put that out nationally. My interview and everything, and things just diffused from there.
This production is brought to you by the Clubhouse of Spearfish.
You know, once people got the interpretation of what the rule stated, and they showed the freeze frame.
Okay.
I said, that's you can't dispute that. That's a take. It shut things down now.
Good.
So those are the things that sometimes people that are the fans or the coaches really don't know what the call is. It's up to us to know what those calls are and to be looking for them and to be anticipating them.
Yep.
And once we see them, then bam, it's there. There's two moves in college wrestling, or two things in college wrestling that don't have any reaction time. It was a hand touch takedown, and then locked hands from the down position. You know, if you get taken down from the neutral position, you have a little bit of a delay if you're coming. But if you're down if you start in referee's position, one guy's up, one guy's down, and you immediately touch hands, there's no reaction time. It's locked hands. So I think explaining that, you know, to the general population that really doesn't know, you know, is just there for cheering everybody on and rah-rahing everybody. It really helped. I got a call from that official a couple days later.
Good.
And he says, Frank, I really appreciate what you said.
That's awesome.
On Flow. But it was true. It was. I mean, if it wasn't the right call, I just say, hey, and I said, listen, we're human. We make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, but if we make mistakes, we need to own our mistakes.
Yeah.
And because we all want to make sure that the right call, the right wrestler wins. And I told them, I said, you know, me and my contemporaries here spend a lot of time focusing on the rules and calling a lot of matches and everything else.
Yep.
We're not just out to get the right call just because we don't like the color of that uniform or that uniform.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So it really, I said, we take our jobs professionally and personally, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right work, making the right call so the right wrestler wins.
So why did you want to see the rule taken out of the hand on the mat?
To me, I just don't think there's any control situation there. I think a takedown is specifically for control. You're controlling your opponent. You start in a neutral position. Both wrestlers have zero advantage. You got to create the situation to put yourself in an advantage situation. And, you know, you can duck around someone and still not get them controlled to the mat. So personally, that's what, and I think most referees and apparently coaches will agree with that was, I think it was just one of those rules that ran its course, and I hated it. I hated it because it was one of those ones that was hard to see sometimes, especially if you're coming around and action is, you're trying to keep a thing called triangulation. You're trying to be the top of the triangle, and the two other corners of the triangle are the wrestlers. And sometimes in a scramble situation, it's hard to see that immediate reaction, you know, so I'm glad it's out. I'm glad it's out.
So, and that's kind of a tough thing. So when you see someone like you talked about, the national champion who lost by that rule and then comes back the next year and that rule is no longer in place, I almost feel like that's a point of contention, or do you think that's kind
No,
of
I
just-
think it was for that reason. I think the committee really took that under consideration, and that's why they X'd it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I think that dialogue there had some bearing on it, you know, and I think it gave everybody an understanding that, yeah, okay, this guy that has, you know, probably should have had a better advantage to win the match or lose the match was kind of an unfair, you know, victory
Yeah.
because of that hand touch takedown. But it was a fair victory because it was the rule at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I think that that really shines a light on kind of the things that, because it's not just you guys, like you said, you're not just caring about any one side. It's you guys have to make calls sometimes that
Right.
might not necessarily be agreed upon. But you know, I feel like that is you really help shine a light on the fact that you know you guys really have to be so technical in the way that you look at matches.
Right. We have to develop a skill set of quick reaction. We have to recognize things that are happening really quickly. One of the most difficult things to recognize is spaghetti scramble takedowns, where they're wrestling like two alley cats, and you don't know who has control until you know control's established. That's why you got to take a couple steps back. Don't get too close to the action. And that's why I tell all referees: don't get on top of the action. Get back. You know, I even get back out of the circle and just kind of let it go. And then I'm you know just kind of working in a crescent, you know, trying to determine if one or the other have control, or if it's going to go into a stalemated situation and start them back in the neutral position. In the college wrestling ranks, you get a lot of that. You get a lot of that, especially with top level teams. You know, you have two top level teams going after it. You have, it's like, you know, two cats in a gunny sack.
Yeah.
You know, that you've just shaken up and thrown on the mat.
Welcome to Bashful Bison, where every meal is a culinary journey. Craft your meal with whole foods sourced locally for a sustainable feast. Every bite tells a story of quality, community, and environmental responsibility. Visit us at 601 Kansas Street in Rapid City, or explore our menu online at bashfulbison.com. Place your order today by calling 605-519-3683, where each meal embodies mindful dining.
You know, they're going all over the place. So you really have to determine an understanding of control. And a coach can always challenge your call. You know, in a duel, a coach has one challenge per duel. And in a tournament, you have usually three, depending on how many wrestlers, you can have one, two, or three. But normally you have three challenges throughout the tournament. You can throw a challenge brick, and it's a styrofoam brick, thank God, you know, so we always joke about that. So, but you can throw a challenge brick out, and you stop the match, and you ask, Coach, what's your
Challenge, yeah.
challenge? And he tells you. So you have the opportunity to go see if the right call was made. If it is, as asked after further review on the mat, the call on the mat stands. And then he loses his challenge, they mark it down, he has two more left, whatever. In a duel, if they challenge, they lose it, they just have one challenge, they can't challenge anymore. But we as the referees have the latitude to go look at our film anytime, and I like that. And I utilize that. I mean, because if it's a quick situation, you have two guys that are out there that are battling pretty hard. I want to make sure that I made the right call.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
No, I think that kind of helps. Like I said, that kind of helps people see how technical you have to be, and that you know it sheds a light on it. And I really appreciate you for kind of coming in and making sure that you're shining a light on it, but also the announcement about the tournament, about the Black Hills Nationals.
You bet.
I really appreciate you for taking the time and everything. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, you've been really good about covering Black Hills Nationals and just been a real ally of ours. And
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
appreciate what you do, and you always do a great job. But I encourage people, if they want to get into officiating, to try it, at least try it and see if they, develop a taste for it. If they do, the sky's the limit. You can do as much as you want. There's referees that referee 12 months out of the year. And I used to be one of those guys. And I think that's what got my skill set to go north. And, it's limited to what you want to do, what you're able to do.
Yep.
A lot of times, where occupations get in the way, all that stuff, your travel. I mean, they're right after, I was with the Big 12 right after COVID.
Oh.
And it was such a ugly time, I would say.
Yep.
So that year in 2020, the Division 1, 2, 3, I think the only national tournament that went on that year was the JUCOs, the junior college. NEIs might have, I can't remember, but Division 1, 2, and 3 were canceled, just like all basketball and every event in the world.
Yep.
So going on into 2021, normally wrestling season starts the first week in November for colleges. And they delayed it until January 1st of 2021. And they encapsulated a whole season between January and the third week of March, which is the Division I national tournament.
Yeah.
I was in an airplane 92 times.
Oh, geez.
In that framework. And it was just like, my gosh, that's one of my reasons why I retired. I wanted to make opportunities for other people. I had another year left on my contract, but I just felt that I could do other things and be more useful elsewhere as a mentorship director for the ICWA and open up the door for other people that needed the door open, younger guys.
Absolutely.
So, because I got to the top of the mountain, I was happy about that, and I appreciate that. It was exciting, but wrestling's one of those passions of mine that I just love. I love to see when kids. It's a combative sport. It's a physical sport. I like that. I'm not a tiddlywinks guy. I'm not an underwater basket weaver.
Yep.
I have to see some results.
Yep.
But. No, it's a very gratifying sport, and with girls right now, I think it's the number one scholarshiping sport in women's college wrestling.
And that's another thing too. Like the girls have kind of, like you said, it's definitely grown. I remember a couple years ago, I think they had the first girls state wrestling tournament in Rapid City, and it's so cool to see how far it's come. Like, what was your take on the girls wrestling side of things? Did it take too long? Was it?
I think it took way too long. I always thought it should be a separate division and let girls have the opportunity to wrestle. I mean, it just makes sense. The girls that wanted to wrestle, they had to wrestle the boys, and there's a lot of times that boys didn't want to wrestle the girls just because of the makeup of a female versus a male and everything else. So and it just really was a overdue thing in my opinion. But now that it's embraced and now that it's here, I think it's full speed ahead.
Oh yeah.
And I really like to see those girls compete on from the 6 and unders through the college gals and the Olympians. I mean, it's Olympic sport. I think we can have. We're gonna see some Olympian possibilities here very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's that was kind of one of those things where you see some of these girls that have been doing it for a while and have that under their belt. It's kind of like they may lose to the guy once in a while, but there's sometimes where they beat them, and you're kind of like,
right,
wow,
Yeah,
So.
I can't remember what state it was. I think it was Missouri. I think that was the first state to have a female placer in their state tournament.
Oh, jeez.
And it was Missouri or Indiana, one of the two. I'm not a statistical guy, care less.
Yeah.
But I do remember that, and that's pretty neat. I mean, that's tough.
Definitely, yeah, no kidding.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So,
But Anyway, well, thanks, Frank, again for coming on and everything. And really excited to see how things kind of go next year in Rapid at the fairgrounds and all
Yeah,
that.
we'll reach out to you prior and
Yeah,
just make sure that we can, James Helverson.
Yep.
He's on our board of directors.
Awesome.
And he's also on the Central States Fair
Oh, okay.
board of directors. So it was just kind of a no-brainer to go there. I mean, we could have went to the monument and everything else, but after I saw the Kerstead Center, Jim Kerstead actually was a good friend of mine. He was an American Family agent out of Wall, and I knew him for when I first started my career, and he was a gentleman. And it's kind of a neat thing to be in the Kerstead Event Center.
That's all full circle.
Yeah, it is, and we're excited to do it. I'm sure there's going to be challenges along the way, but we will adapt, overcome, and improvise like every Marine Corps unit does. So
Yes, sir. Awesome.
but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Colton.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Frank, thanks for coming on and everything. Really appreciate you taking the time and really coming in here and shining a light on what it is to be a referee and all the different things that go with it.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for asking me to come in.
Awesome. Thanks, Frank. Once again, thanks for joining us for First Amendment Media Sports, and we'll see you on the next episode.